When working in photographs for your composition, sometimes you're given photographs or pictures or images that just don't fit very well in your overall style. For instance, I've got this set up as the background for a poster, and I want to be able to add some pictures of different people or things that still fits the colors, theme, and style of this particular setting. Now, the pictures that they gave to me aren't bad compositions. However, if I was to simply place them inside of here, they wouldn't work too easily or too well. The colors don't jive. In this case, it's a black and white image, and I've got this really nice, bold, dynamic, very saturated background. So I want to be able to manipulate and change and edit photographs so that they fit better with the style of my composition. And that's what we're going to do in this exercise. Let's start with this image. I'm going to pull it into my Photoshop document. And for now, I'm just going to simply scale it down so I can see it and how it will work with my overall design. Now, of course, it's on its own layer, and I can adjust the blending modes. And that's one way that I could potentially bring in the colors from another layer or another part of my design. But you can see it's really going to tear up my photograph. So that's not the direction that I want to go. Luckily, there is a way that you can pull in style and colors into whatever layer that you're working on. First off, notice that this layer is a smart object layer. This means that a copy of this photograph is being saved elsewhere, so whatever edits or changes that I do, it's not going to affect my original image. I highly recommend, if it's not turned into a smart object layer, that you hold down Control, click on your layer, and convert it to a smart object. This way, you're not going to lose your original. Going back to my photograph layer, with it selected, I'm going to go over to my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to choose a foreground and a background color that matches the colors in this textured background. So in my case, I'm going to choose this bright red. You can see that set to my foreground. Then I'll swap over, and let's choose a background color. In this case, it'll be this darker blue. Having a lighter and darker color is what's going to really come in handy once we apply our filter. Next, go up to Filter and open up your filter gallery. Inside the filter gallery, there's a variety of different little artistic and stylized filters that you can use. And you can see once they're created, you get a preview of what that style will look like. This is a great, simple way of now starting to add some artistic interest to an otherwise boring composition. You can play around with some of the artistic ones, and once you select it, play around with the settings on the right-hand side. But if you really want to take control of the colors to it, you can open this up in the Sketch area, and the Sketch filters are what's going to apply that foreground and background color. Each one's going to give you some slightly different results. In my case, I really like this halftone pattern or even the torn edges, simply because it fits the style of my background. Playing around further with the style options, maybe we'll make the size and contrast a little bit larger, and we can play around with the pattern type to be something like this. Once you get a style and pattern that you like, you can say OK, and this will commit it to your overall design. Now I've got a photograph that could easily fit and work well within my design. However, notice when I go to change the size or do any tweaking to my photograph, it's going to get rid of that particular filter until I commit to the change, and then it'll reapply it back to that design. That's the whole purpose of using the smart object or smart filters inside of this. If you need to make adjustments to here, simply double click on the Smart Filter, Filter Gallery, and you can go up and make adjustments to whatever filter that you've got. Another great thing you can do is add on multiple filters. So instead of it just being a halftone pattern, you could add on another filter by clicking on the plus sign at the bottom, and then take it a step farther. Maybe in this case I wanted to add more of a charcoal effect or a chrome effect. Some are going to look better than others depending on the style that you want to use and the effect that you're trying to achieve. Perhaps I'll keep it as the poster edge and halftone pattern now. We'll say OK to that. You can see it's been added and updated to my composition. So this is one way you can filter out a design so that it matches better to the background. But let's say we wanted to take it a step further in the cutout of an image. Right now you can see that this image has some pretty hard edges, but I want to be able to cut this out in a more artistic manner. I'm going to get rid of this one. Let's place on another photograph. We'll place on this cover singer picture here. Again, I'll scale him down so that he fits nicely inside of this area. And I want to crop out the background around him. To quickly do this, let's do a layer mask. I'll use my quick selection tool, highlight the area of his figure, and I'm not going to do too good of a job. Later on I'm going to come back and tweak this, but I want to get the rough outline established. So all I need to do now to turn on my layer mask is click at the very bottom with the circle inside of the rectangle. That will mask him out. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to grab my paintbrush tool and I'm going to set my brush to be a simple rounded brush, maybe a little bit larger with a very soft edge. Whatever we paint white will reveal the image. Whatever we paint black will erase it away. What I want to do is to create almost a cloud-like effect around his area. So I'm also going to drop the opacity down to about 40%, maybe make my brush slightly larger. Working back and forth, painting on and erasing away an area, we want to create more of a subtle transition from the outside to the inside portion. This may take a little playing around to get used to, but once you get an effect that you like, then we can apply the filter to your layer mask. So I'm going to jump ahead and get this done. Alright, now that this is done, check out what I've got inside of my layer mask. It's masked off, and with it selected, let's apply a filter to the mask. Go up to Filter, back down to your filter gallery. Again, it'll give you a preview, but in this case we're not seeing the actual picture, we want to see the mask itself. And this is where we can start to play around with the adjustments for this mask. In this case I can apply the halftone filter to it, or even a base relief or charcoal filter. Some are going to work better than others. So this is again where you play around to see what results that you do get until you get something that you do like. Maybe I'll apply that rough pastel, the outline. When I say OK to this, this will be applied to my filter. And now I've got kind of a dynamic little cutout for his image. The final way that we can make this more coherent with the textured background is by changing the colors of the image using an adjustment. Going over to your Adjustments panel, I'll drag it off so we can see it. Doing something like a gradient map or even a color overlay is the quickest and easiest way to change these colors. If you choose Gradient Map, this will open up your Properties panel, and we only want to apply these colors to the photograph that's below it. So with the Gradient Map selected, go up to Layer and create a clipping mask. Notice now, because it's pointing down to this layer, it's only turning it into those colors. Finally, in our Properties panel, you can select your gradient. Let's choose some colors that match the background. In my case, I'll change the black stop on the left-hand side to the bright red. And we'll change the white stop to more of that darkish blue. Kind of a unique effect. The best part about this is you can always change around your stops to get a different style and design. One quick tip that you may want to consider, instead of just having two different colors, set your farmost color to be something like a darker color, in this case something close to black, and your far rightmost one to be a lighter color. In this case maybe I'll do a lighter version of blue. This way it still keeps those light-dark contrast without making it look so posterized. Once you get something that you like, Now you can incorporate that into your overall design. It looks nice, dynamic, it's very stylized, and it fits the theme that you're working from. All I need to do now with this composition is lay out the text on the top, and I can even add more texture inside of the text that I have for that design. All right, so this is one technique that I want to see you apply somewhere in the design of your poster for this week's assignment.